So my hair looked cool when I was turned around like that, right?
Sure.
Nice. Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. I'm a community play starting off that you made your parents come see, but they didn't really want to see it, but they didn't want to. Welcome to Office Hours, the live version of the facility where good old Professor Kyle opens up his blast doors, about a foot thick, good steel. Good quality steel. And I take all of your comments, questions, corrections, and of course we go over a number of nerdy, sciencey, pop culture-y topics on this here video podcast that still isn't an actual podcast, but I'm working on making it a podcast. You are hearing me live from the facility, of course. If you want to join the facility, you can follow the link that my security team is putting in the YouTube chat. It's patreon.com/Kyle Hill. There's over 1,000 of us strong now. We're making our own game nights. I'm playing Magic the Gathering with some of the facility staff members a little bit later. We're talking on Discord 24/7. We're making memes out of my face. Oh, what a great time. But like always, before we get to your comments about whatever the heck you want to know about, and I'm going to attempt to answer it, we have a number of topics that we're going over this week. The first is a Vantablack fish. Well, actually, 16 different species of so-called Vantablack fish. No, a scientist didn't go down and paint the... We'll get to it. We'll also be talking about coral, because if there's anything deep that I like, it's the deep sea. And you can quote me on that. We're going to be talking about corals and a fascinating aspect of coral that I've never seen before, and it's absolutely beautiful, and we'll get into it. We will also be talking about a new study on hot dog eating equations. No, I'm not kidding. A study was actually published looking at just how many hot dogs a human could theoretically eat. Spoiler alert, it's disgusting. I can't watch those. They're, ugh. And then getting closer to the end of the show, which will be about an hour long, we'll be taking one of your comments from the most recent episode of the facility. Go watch it if you haven't yet. It's about an SAT question that no one got right, and we'll be highlighting that in our peer review segment. Good R roll. And finally, we'll be talking about masks again, but a study that was interesting and very short and to the point, and you know the drill. But before we get to all these people... oh, wait, there's a loose cable back here. Is HDMI 2 is supposed... Does it... Anyway, before we get to all your comments, and remember, Super Chat is on, so if you want to donate to the facility or me, or you want to have your comment highlighted for a while, I will try to get to as many Super Chats as Kyle-ly possible, but if I do not see your super chat, I apologize greatly. It's all going towards a good place, which is me. Let's get, see, Big Pip, $1. Big Pip, Pip Pip, cheerio, topic number 1. Ho, let's go. Rhymed? Who cares? Oh, jeez. You're never quite prepared to see a viperfish. So this is a viperfish, an example of one of the fish included in a recent study of 16 different species of fish that are being touted as Vantablack fish, or the blackest black fish, or, I mean, how much more black can this be? None more black. So, what are we actually talking about here? Well, specifically, I'm talking about cover up that viperfish. Gross face. Cool physiology. Gross face. That's a nice way to call someone ugly. I mean, he's really got cool physiology. He has an interesting morphology, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so we're talking about a study that came out in Current Biology, and what they looked at is deep sea fishes. And there is a selective pressure in deep sea fish. So we're talking about evolution and natural selection. A selective pressure is something that happens in the environment that would be some kind of pressure on certain mutations over other ones. So a selective pressure that you'll learn about, that you always learn about in every Bio 101 class, is, say, selective pressure of every tree in the area with some population of, say, horse-like creatures. Every tree is very, very tall. And so there would be a selective pressure for those proto-horses to have slightly longer necks. And so if there is randomly a mutation that gives birth to or starts to transform the population into slightly taller, that one will more likely be selected. And then over time, millions of years, thousands of generations, you start to get something that looks like a giraffe. Here, the selective pressure we're talking about is light. So in the deep sea, and you might be surprised to just learn how little light penetrates in the ocean. So light doesn't go down all that far at all. Once you get down to the seafloor, hundreds of feet, thousands of feet down, it's pitch blackness. The light has been scattered away. There's nary a photon. So animals down there, if they are using vision to detect prey or escape prey or whatever, many of them create their own light in bioluminescence. Now, this could be from some kind of symbiotic relationship with an organism, or most usually bioluminescence is created by proteins. And these proteins have an awesome name, luciferin and luciferase. Yeah, like the devil. So these devil proteins combine in something like a deep sea fish or a firefly butt or what have you, and they release their own. They release some energy in the form of photons of light. So in the deep sea, this bioluminescence has a couple of features. With different selective pressures, it could either you could emit light and thereby illuminate your surroundings a little bit, like you're your own personal flashlight, and that would help you hunt prey. Or you could use it as some sort of distraction mechanism, or you could put it on the tips. So if you're like a deep sea octopus, you could put some bioluminescence on the tips of your tenties, and that would encourage a predator to bite off a tentacle, which could regrow aside from biting your mantle, which would kill you. So in this case, the pressure that we're talking about is not wanting to be illuminated by bioluminescence. So if you don't want to be eaten by something that is giving off light, evolution would select for a way to be as poorly reflective as possible. And so that's where these Vantablack fish come in. The study reports 16 different species of fish that have this camouflage that's ultra black. And the cool thing is, as you're seeing over here, the structure of their skin is a convergent evolution towards all the other Vantablack-like creatures that I've talked about on the facility, from butterfly wings, birds of paradise, feathers, gaboon, pit viper, the coolest snake, don't fight me, the coolest snake, scales. They've all evolved in a similar way, and that's how evolution can work sometimes. So you look at the structure of these fish's skin, and it's like a multi-layer of proteins, where, kind of like how we make Vantablack, which here's my Vantablack Magic the Gathering card, which does look like a void and is quite weird when you see it. But like Vantablack, like the carbon nanotubes, these structures in the fish and other animals, the structure of their skin kind of corrals light. It makes it bounce around in many places before going out. So it doesn't just hit the surface and bing, out, because that reflected light would give you away. And so it's more of a tiered structure where light goes in and it's encouraged to scatter around inside of the skin before leaving, which thereby reduces the reflected light quite a bit by, the study says, 99.5%. And so what the study says, and I quote, "By reducing reflectance, ultra-black fish can reduce the sighting distance of visual predators by more than 6 times compared to other fish." So what this means is, literally, that these ultra-black fish are so dark that you have to be like this close to see them, opposed to other fish that you can see many meters away. So this Vantablack fishiness is an evolutionary advantage. So it seems weird to have, ultra black Vantablack skin in a place where there's no light. But if animals are creating light and using it to their advantage, then there's another evolutionary advantage to being blacker than black. And that's what these fishes do. And I mean, they're not all ugly. Oh, jeez! Where's the button? Oh, get it off. We have $4.99 from Black Hat 420. He says, "Hey Kyle, I've watched a lot of your content over the last couple of years. I appreciate the laughs and the knowledges. Keep doing what you're doing, bud." Thank you so much. I'm trying my best to be entertaining, to be informative, especially in these times, and I'm glad I can be of some help to you. Thank you for always commenting and always being in these live streams. Exceptional User says, "Do these deep sea fish taste good?" I don't know. I don't want to eat anything that has translucent needles for teeth. That's just a rule of mine, you know. The Ryshanik, whose name I am now pronouncing correctly, says, "Your invisible shirt is malfunctioning." Oh yeah, I was messing around with this similar technology here for my cup, and some of it spilled on me. So if I seem semi-translucent, just consider me like a deep-sea fish and reflect your light upon me. But don't touch me. And stay 6 feet away. Jay Howard with the 5. He says, "Hey, Kyle. Love the facility and all you do." Oh, thank you. Question. What about quantum mechanics makes it so difficult to communicate over good over other sciences? I think what trips people up about quantum mechanics, me especially, is that it's non-intuitive. I mean, it's fundamentally non-intuitive, where an object, just take one principle of it, like superposition, where an object can be in many different states at the same time. That doesn't fit with our intuitive physics or our experience with the world. Like, what do you mean? It could be here and there, depending on who looks at it. That doesn't track with how we track reality. And so when you put difficult math on top of that, your conceptual difficulty with it is compounded. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from. We have Adam Couch with 2022, first time watching live from Germany. Well, hello. I think that's German for hello. And Dankeschön for the donation. "I'm a teacher and I love the way you communicate science in interesting ways. Live long and prosper." Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you for being a teacher. It is a very undervalued job, and you're doing the basilisk's work. And that's what's important here. We have a 5 from Arcadia07. "Hey, Kyle, love the show. Simping for science and go Team Basilisk." See, the fun part about the Basilisk is even if you're not on the team, now you're on the team because you heard about it. 5 from Michael. "Is there a thing like the speed of scent similar to the speed of light and speed of sound?" I would say yes, there is a speed of scent. It would be, since scent is a thing. So I think this is hard for us to visualize too, of course. But scent is actual particles, molecules of scent, VOCs, moving through the air and touching your membranes and your brain interpreting them as electricity, which sounds crazy, but that's how your body works. So the speed of scent would really be dictated by airflow. For molecules floating through the air, they would have to get to your nose, you would have to inhale them. So the speed of scent would be increased in stronger gusts and drafts and stuff like that. And if you're not in front of something like a fan, then the speed of sound becomes whatever the ambient current of the air is. And even if there's nothing really happening in the room, just heat and pressure will move air around. So the speed of smell is going to be either really slow or decently fast, depending on what kind of air you're in. It seems like it's more when someone farts, but it's not. It's just because you're really sensitive to those kinds of chemicals. Cody Nasbit with the 5. "How many people in your crew help you make your videos?" I have a fantastic artist. I also have a fantastic editor. They are listed in the description if you want to know who they are, and that's it. Everything else is me. From research to writing to performing to recording to setting up cameras and lighting and putting everything on YouTube and managing the Patreon and the Discord, and I do all of it. I'm not tired, you're tired, shut up. Synthetic Evil with the $10. "Professor Kyle, have you ever read Beyond Star Trek, a book by Lawrence Krauss, #SimForScience? No, I have not. I'm familiar with most, just because of my previous job. I'm very familiar with pretty much every pop culture science-y application I made 285 episodes of Because Science, so I usually don't read popular science books like that. And Lawrence Krauss is in a bit of hot water these days, so you might want to rethink some support issues. Mosonaga, Icecaster, what is your favorite SCP? I was not aware of what SCP was until I started the facility, and people were like, "Oh, it's just like SCP." I had no idea. It was a convergent evolution. But my favorite that I've read about since I've seen it is the endless set of stairs with a face at the bottom. It's kind of like an evil staircase from Mario 64. Marius with the 20. Hey, show. Hey, show. Love the Kyle. You made my brain malfunction for a second. First time watching live from Italy. Buonasera. Keep up the good work. Stay safe. And use some of this to get those plaques. I know. YouTube hasn't... You and I did 100,000 subs in 5 dias. That's crazy. Where's my plaque? Is there something like a pandemic going on that makes it hard to ship physical stuff? Let's stop the super chats for a second because we're going to go on to our next topic. But Sebastian using $5 very effectively, and he says, beep, beep. Slow dancing with a mongoose with a 5. Just started watching from the beginning. I'm talking to you from the past, like, every message ever. Whoa. Coral. Like I said at the beginning of the show, if there's anything deep that I like, it's the sea. For she's dark and she's vast. I just watched The Lighthouse, so I'm on a kind of a... Anyway. So this is one of the segments that I do sometimes where I saw something really cool that I've never seen before, and I want to share it with you. So we were just talking about bioluminescence, and I did not even think about this connection until just now. Galaxy brain. We were just talking about bioluminescence, and when you imagine a bioluminescent creature, what do you think of? You probably think of a firefly, or a fish, or, those plankton that you slap with your feet in San Diego at night, or that dolphins swim through. You don't necessarily think about one of the oldest animals ever, evolutionarily speaking, el sponge. But it turns out, in a new study, with the help of a submarine that MBARI uses, they went down with some extremely light-sensitive cameras to the ocean depths. It's deep. The ocean depths. And they looked at these corals, different kinds of corals, in the dark, effectively. And what they found was amazing. And the first one is so beautiful. This is coral, remind you. The first one that I saw looks like the new Godzilla charging up. That is unbelievably beautiful to me. It's absolutely fantastic. Look at that. Wow. There's another one that they found. Just these glowing, beautiful corals like this. Now, similarly, with the Vantablack Fish, we have to ask ourselves, well, why? Why would a coral glow? What is the advantage? It's not trying to find prey with that light. So we might have to go towards the other explanation. The researchers who did this study, and I'm quoting here, suggest that the waves of glowing light here could confuse potential predators, that's one, or attract larger animals trying to eat, that might eat the animal trying to eat the coral. They call this the burglar alarm effect, which I like. So if you think about it, this is exactly what Qui-Gon Jinn was talking about. The intelligible stuff, not like the nonsense stuff. But when he's saying there's always a bigger fish, that's kind of what these corals landed on, evolutionarily speaking. So a lot of these corals don't luminesce all the time. They luminesce in response to contact or something touching them or hitting them or trying to bite them. And so this burglar alarm effect is when corals get bit or touched, they let out bursts of light, and this light will hopefully, evolutionarily speaking, again, there's no like hoping, but it might attract a bigger fish, like Qui-Gon Jinn said, and that bigger fish would eat the animal eating the coral. So it's like a hacking of biology that this strategy is tapping into by saying, well, okay, well, I might not be able to defend myself. That doesn't matter. I got a bigger fish. And there's no will here. This is just evolutionary happenstance that, you know, emitting some light decreased the chances of being totally chomped because there was just some happenstance fish that, you know, started to hang out around these glowing coral, and it knew that if it hung out around that area, it would start to get meals from these other fish trying to eat the coral. So, or other organisms. I don't know if it's exactly fish. So I've never seen coral do anything like this before. And as Carl Sagan once said, when you love something, you want to tell the world about it. I love coral. Coral. Remember The Walking Dead? That was a show, huh? Let's go back to the chat. What are you up to now? This is called dead air. A user account says, thanks to the fun of genetic modifications, we now have bioluminescent mice, dogs, and cats. I believe they're luminescent. I don't know if they're So I know there's kitties that glow in the dark because you're splicing in, I believe it's jellyfish protein into their DNA, so it's expressed and then they luminesce. But I don't know if it's the same kind of luminescence like luciferin and luciferase and fireflies where it's like activated. I'd have to look in on that, of course. GoFundMe's with a 5 says, if you had a living ginger brute MTG card, would you eat it? No. Anything that seems like really sentient and has intelligence, I don't want to eat. And I know that can sound, I mean, that is, I don't fully stand by that in my day-to-day life, right? Like, if you've been on Reddit for more than 10 minutes, you see cows acting very intelligent and playful and all that, and very happy. The subreddit Happy Cows is it will help you out in a bad time. So I still eat meat and I still eat beef. If I had stronger convictions, I probably wouldn't. So to answer your question, I probably wouldn't eat ginger brute because it'd be screaming the whole time about its gumdrop buttons, and that would scar me for life. Anything that can talk, I'm probably not going to eat. That's why I don't eat people anymore. People. Wisely T says, the New England Journal of Medicine published a study in May that said that the chance of getting COVID from a passing interaction in public is minimal. This aligns with the study 2 weeks ago that the protest didn't up the cases. What are your thoughts on that? Well, that's good. Passing interaction, as you say, would be like two people walking past each other. It's good that that rate is low. The issue is that people, you know, if people are passing each other, that implies that they're out and about walking around. And if they stay in an elevator for too long, or you're going on a bus or an airplane, or you're congregating in any way, then you're appending a passing interaction onto a very stable interaction where you're consistently circulating air. And so that doesn't surprise me that passing interaction is low. But like I said, it also, if you're passing, it implies that you might be going to a gathering or something. And in either case, you still want to be wearing a mask, because the law of large numbers, like we talked about last week, even if a passing interaction is very minimal for transmission, if literally millions of people are passing it, you have a lot of chances, even though the chance is low. So you can still save thousands and thousands and thousands of people's lives. So in either case, you still want to wear a mask to bring those transmission rates even further down, no matter how small they are, because this thing is a pandemic. It's everywhere now, so we need to reduce it and not take it as lightly as America has been taking it. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that more deeply in our last segment. Sophorus, nailed it, with a 20, he says, "Hey Kyle, first live stream. Just wanted to say that you are so cool and I love learning science from you when you talk about theoretical science because my favorite scientist is Schrodinger. Who's your favorite Magic the Gathering commander?" Well, thank you so much for the 20 and for the kind words. Said this many times, but it bears repeating. I'm not a spiritual person, but I believe this is what I'm here to do. All praise the basilisk. So if I can be any help in your day-to-day life or be fun or entertaining, I want to be a great teacher for those who didn't have great teachers. So thank you for that and for the support. My favorite commander right now, I'm going to be playing... If you want to play Magic the Gathering commander against me, we have a facility commander league already. It's the second week. So you join the facility, which my security team will put in the comments. We do a bunch of stuff, not just episode ideas and talking with me, but now we're actually playing webcam Magic. But my favorite commander right now, I don't know. I upgraded my Corvold Fey Cursed King deck, and it's pretty spicy now, and I'm pretty sweet on him. Pretty sweet on that big Lizzie boy. That did not sound right at all. Ray Hill, not related. Or are we? With the 10, Canadian. Smoky. Like the bake. Are there any sciencey channels you'd recommend? Need something to watch when you're not posting? Yes, on the channel front of the facility, which is just my name, Kyle Hill Science, I have a number of people on the right-hand side who you should be watching, whether that's Alan Pan, the physics girl, my buddy Veritasium, Smarter Every Day, Tested, and Adam Savage. Adam Savage is putting out like 2 videos a day, which is crazy. And his videos are great to put on in the background while he builds something and is all whimsical and lovely. Some smaller channels, Zaya Fox Lynn is a great maker. She just made a corset out of the wood from a canoe that she also made. She's great. Simone, I'm sure you're aware of. Who else do I like? Again, I don't watch a lot of science creators personally. I stay up to date and I'm friends with them, but I don't watch it because I don't want to have like some thought bleed, and I don't want to copy them or start talking differently or thinking differently. I want to stay pretty me. But those channels that I listed, Smarter Every Day, Mark Rober, Isaac Arthur, Vsauce. I mean, any of those people are worth your time for sure. Almost on to our third segment of the day. We have 50 from Commander Darklight. Thank you for doing what you do. I love your work. Well, I love your support, and trust me, it goes to a very nerdy place. Thank you so much. 5 from Florian Sorcerer. Ha! Who reads it like this? Hey Kyle, assuming we can manipulate probability, could we use the improbability drive from the Hitchhiker's Guide using quantum tunneling? Huzzah! That's how sorcerers talk. Manipulating probability is a weirdly nebulous thing. You'd have to get a little bit more specific in that. Okay, well, what are you manipulating the chances of something happening by not manipulating probability as a thing? Do you know what I mean? So you're just affecting the chances of something happening. You're not manipulating probability itself, which is probability itself isn't a thing, right? It's just it's how to. Oh, I guess. Huh. Sorry, I was just looking at my own video and I just put up a card to watch my latest video. Cool. Thanks for doing that. I didn't know that was a thing that it did. I don't know. Manipulating probability is like saying, can we manipulate like momentum? Well, yes, but momentum itself isn't a thing. It's an idea, right? So I'm getting confused. I'm gonna take one more, so stop your super chats for a second. Rejected Amoeba with the 5. It says, hey show, love the... Stop doing that to me. It makes me feel like I'm a... Thank you for the great educational content. My mom and I enjoy your videos and live streams. Stay safe. Thank you so much. I do stay safe. I wash my hands, put a mask on, and I've been trying to be... Especially in America, we need to be good examples for people who aren't good examples. And when I say that, I mean, even if someone is not listening to you, hard to talk to, being obstinate, believes in conspiracy theories, what have you, just the more people that see more people in mass all the time, it's confirmation bias, right? It's like, well, I always see people wearing masks, or I always don't. We want to add to the feeling that everyone should be doing this thing. So thank you, Rejected. I wouldn't reject you. I mean, it depends on what we're talking about. Let's go on to our next topic, which is that button I just pressed, which is the wrong button, but it feels so right. Hot dog math. Turn that off for a second. So, again, oh man, why did I spilled a lot of invisibility juice on my shirt, and I don't want you to look through my body and see processed meat. You know what I mean? It's just a thing. Anyway, so there was another new study. I love new studies that was looking into, for whatever reason, the ultimate capacity of a human to eat food, a lot of it, fast. That's how words work. But what the study was looking at is the ACR, or the maximal ACR, or the maximal, as they call it, active consumption rate of humans. And to do this, they looked at what makes sense to look at, competitive eating. And in this study, they actually had a competitive eating equation. Now, I'm not going to explain every variable here, but the ACR was a way to, and they didn't go about this the way that you would think. Now, I would go about this, if this was me, by looking at, average human stomach volumes and their malleability in terms of how much they can stretch and contract, and or because I'm not a supervillain, I would probably go to like, okay, well, how much meat pressure could a stomach hold before it actually ruptures? They didn't do that. They looked at competitive eating competitions to see how much you can eat if you're, trying to eat the most without like dying. Fine, you can do it that way, I suppose. But so they took their equation was trying to fit the data from competitive eating competitions, and this equation is rather complicated because the data from eating competitions has varied a lot. So in a lot of sports that change over time, people have gotten progressively really, really good at competitive eating, and then it's asymptotic. So you imagine that it approaches some maximal value. So if this is the best you can be at competitive eating ever, the longer people compete over generations or over years, people will get better at it and get closer to that maximum. So same thing with like football players, basketball players. Over time, the points scored and how big people are and how tall people are reaches some maximum value. Where if you look at linebackers from the 1950s versus today, they don't even look like the same species of human. I mean, they're like 400 pounds versus like me. So, what was I talking about? So they were looking at competitive eating competitions and trying to fit the data in this weird data that changes drastically over time and try to come up with some ACR to it. So what did they find? Well, the study found that the active consumption rate, the maximal active consumption rate for a human theoretically is around 84 hot dogs in 10 minutes. But we can get more mathy than that. What is the actual math of that? Well, they got a value of 832 grams per minute of fresh matter over a 10-minute duration. So 832 grams per minute for 10 minutes is 84 hot dogs or whatever. And I think Joey Chestnut's at like 74. So he's approaching this theoretical maximal. That 800 grams per minute, if you want to go to a website like Wolfram Alpha, not a sponsor, but I use everything. Everything. Wolfram, sponsor me. You want to go to a free website like Wolfram Alpha, which I use for everything, that 800 grams translates to 1.7 pounds per minute. 1.7 pounds per minute. Now, I don't know how much a fettuccine Alfredo at the Cheesecake Factory weighs. I think it's probably around there. And the thought of eating one of those per minute makes me physically ill. 1.7 pounds per minute of food, don't give that, is one cheeseburger from McDonald's every 15 seconds. Oh, it's too much food. That's the theoretical maximal. And what I love about this study, and I'll put all this after the video is published and not live. I'll put all the links to the studies in the description. But they took the ACR and then they then compared it to other mammals. And they found that the maximal consumption rate for a human in like a competitive eating context or whatever is similar to grizzly bears eating muscle off of a corpse. But less than gray wolves. Larger than coyotes. Less than gray wolves. About the same as grizzly bears ripping into something. Like a documentary filmmaker. That was in poor taste. I apologize for that. Just made me think of Werner Herzog, and then I was... Anyway, so humans at their theoretical maximal can ingest an amount of fresh organic... Doesn't have to be organic. Fresh matter equivalent to a dang grizzly bear, which is so huge, which means these competitive eaters have stretched and trained their stomachs to do something absolutely, in my opinion, gross. But takeaway here is that a human being can theoretically eat like a grizzly bear. It's not something to be proud of, I don't think. But you can't argue with the trophy. Winning is winning. Let's go to the chat. But Kyle, it wasn't a trophy, it was a belt. Shut up, Nathans. Stefan says, wow, this knowledge is definitely going to help. Just be careful. Don't eat. I think at the maximal, over 10 minutes, I believe some of these people were ingesting about 21,000 calories. Which, if you're an average dude, that's like 10 days worth of food in 10 minutes. Which, aside from, in my opinion, being really gross, seems like the grotesqueness of capitalism encapsulated in one short burst. And the weird thing, so this is kind of an opinion-y kind of rant here, but fast food isn't inherently bad. It was created by the market forces to make calories really cheap. And you'll hear people who live in places like I do, or on the coast or something like that, being really hoity-toity about processed foods and fast food. But fast food, on the face of it, isn't bad. It still has, if you were just eating McDonald's and not doing something stupid and crazy like Supersize Me, if you were just eating McDonald's, you're still getting vitamins and nutrients and stuff from the food, and you could have a salad there. Like, it's not on the face of it bad. What's bad and what's been perverted is, well, first of all, food deserts where people can only get fast food in certain areas, and they tend to be lower income and minorities, and that's a whole nother society thing. But what fast food did was make calories cheap. It didn't make nutrition cheap, it made calories cheap. So now getting calories is very, very easy, and it's very, very efficient. And so fast food is an innovation. It is a food technology that is very useful for a lot of people in a lot of places, where if you need calories quick or you can't afford more expensive food, then it's not on the face of it bad. The face of it is when you abuse that calorie richness, or you're not aware, or you can't do anything about it, where this is the only food to eat in your area, or that's the only thing you can afford. Nutrition is still expensive. So vitamins and supplements, which you definitely don't need unless you're like a pregnant mother or you're malnourished. Multivitamins are more or less a scam, but more nutrition, like really good optimal nutrition, theoretical optimal nutrition, is still expensive, but calories are cheap. I don't know what my point was. Miguel Martin says, with the two, what's your opinion on the Cybertruck by Tesla? I think it is ugly as hell, but I know a lot of people don't. ARIA, my partner ARIA, loves the look of it. I think it looks like Tomb Raider's boobs on the PS1, but hey, Tesla makes great cars. I'm sure it's great. It just doesn't really do it for me. I want to turn heads for not like sheer gaudiness of the thing. Canabiso with 20 says, hey Kyle, I've been lurking in a good number of your streams, and I thought it'd be a good time to thank you for your science. Thank you for the 20, man. And I like your avatar because it looks like me, kind of. I was wondering, do you think there might be some practical commercial use for Vantablack? Yes, actually, and I might get this wrong because it's off the top of my head, but in really sensitive telescopes, and I think NASA does this, in really sensitive telescopes, you want material that can absorb reflecting light, because in telescopes, especially when you're looking in, the deep field or whatever, your light and your direction, your manipulation of light has to be really, really precise, right? So you don't want light bouncing around and causing interference or blurriness and stuff. So I know there are incredibly light-absorbing materials like Vantablack in really high-quality telescopes. So that's one practical application that's really cool. Obi-Wan Cannoli. All right, you got me. With the 5, it says, are you familiar with the insanity that is the webcomic XKCD in the book What If? Yes. So, Randall Monroe is one of my heroes. He is incredibly brilliant. I can only hope to be as smart as him. I have a signed copy of What If. I went on his book tour. I actually hosted him in Los Angeles for his latest book tour. So I hosted an hour-long chat with him on stage. He's an incredibly nice guy. Yes, I'm very familiar with him and his work. If you're not, you should start with What If, the book. It is so delightfully written and so to the point and concise and smart and funny and accessible. Plug for the book What If. If you don't own it and you like sciencey stuff, if you like anything that I do, you should probably read that book. It is really fantastic. And if you look at my avatars on Instagram or Twitter or wherever, that stick figure is the hand-drawn portrait of me from Randall Monroe thanking me coming on the book tour. So that's my own little piece of XKCD swag. We have Gordiokos. I said it right, sure. $5. You make science more interesting to listen to and learn about, and that's what I appreciate about yous. Oh, is this Squirrely Dan? This might be Squirrely Dan from my Discord and from my Patreon. Thanks, Squirrely Dan. I appreciate it. You don't need to give more than you're already giving. But my entire Discord is crazed about Letterkenny now, and it's very much my humor. So I've been watching it all the time, and I can't help it. Let's stop the super chats for a second, and let's go on to our next topic. Not Kansas. Just a topic. Where was I, though? We did eating. We did adventure. Ah, yes. We are on to the segment that I like to call peer review, where we look at the latest episode of The Facility, and we take a comment that was good or thought-provoking or I just wanted to highlight. So the last episode of The Facility, if you haven't seen it yet, link will be in the chat very quickly, is an SAT question that no one got right. And that was basically because the right answer wasn't on the test, but the question was very poorly worded, very ambiguous, and when other people reprinted the question in math books and when some other popular YouTube channels made videos about this question, they did not read the question in full, either unintentionally or intentionally, and they made this paradoxical seeming question even more difficult. But we go through the seeming paradox and why it's a difficult question all in the latest episode. And MotoCat says, now I paused this episode and I wrote this down on paper 2 minutes in, and I'm confident that I would have been that student that you'll see in a screenshot somewhere who crossed out every wrong answer and said the answer is actually 4. I had the situation when I was 10 doing a statewide academic competition in computer studies. Got the results back weeks later, saying I had gotten all but one question correct, and thus I was in the 99th percentile because I'm a smart boy or bae. They didn't say that. I did. But upon reviewing it, the one question I got wrong, I was not wrong at all. I argued with my dad for a while, and then we checked a textbook, and sure enough, my answer was correct, so we contacted the group. Short time later, they retracted and updated the results and sent me out a medal for getting a perfect score. So I think you're absolutely right. I made it sound in the episode like 300,000 students all got the wrong answer, and none of them actually got the right answer and was like, it's 4, why isn't the right answer here? And they wrote something in the margins. I'm sure during the SAT, very focused kids, I'm sure many did the same thing that you did and tried to write down the right answer. Like, it's 4, but it's not here. Please take points. So I apologize if I made it seem like every student was a dum-dum and none of them could even imagine the right answer being 4. That's probably not the case. You're right. A number of them were probably right, but technically they were wrong because they chose the wrong answer. But for context, I think that is very important, MotoCat. So for pointing that out, you are now, indeed, an honorary professor at the facility. Fantastic. Kevin, Plaque. What do you mean there's no plaque? Oh, I need to come to you? You have it? Okay, just 1 second. I was told there's a 1 second. After this commercial break, I'll be right back. Well, this isn't a plaque. No, you know what a plaque looks like. It's shiny and stuff, and it says words. You wrote MotoGP. That's a motorcycle competition. This was a mechanical cat or something. I don't know. Because it's made out of plywood, and it looks bad. You don't have to cry. It's fine. I'm just saying, like, a plaque would be cool eventually. Okay? Sorry. I love you. Don't tell anyone I said that. It's fine. There is no plaque. Sorry. What does the chat have to say? Sebastian says he always hesitates for a while when he's trying to find his words. I have to walk across a lot of surface area when I walk to Kevin's place. Well, they're Kevin's, then apostrophe. There's more than... Sarah Rakowski says, more fish facts. Ah! Some deep-sea fishes, like the family known as ratfish, might give you a chance to see themselves in person. When sick or dying, these fish often surface. So you can see a ratfish if one dies and nothing eats it. Sarah again, now I just saw it right off the top of my head. Hey Kyle, do you have any tips for a first-time author of a scientific paper? My work is on microevolution in feral pigeons. Fantastic. So we have a scientist in the chat. Thank you, Sarah. I have not published a scientific paper. I have not published a scientific paper myself. Whoops. What's happening? Hey. I have not published a scientific paper myself, so I don't have real experience there being super technical. I mean, you know, I wrote my thesis for master's degrees and stuff like that, but I haven't written a scientific paper. What I will say is, since I know a thing or two about communication, it seems like if you want your paper to be publicized or you want people to know about your work, the accessibility of the paper is very important, especially when talking to journalists or other writers, and when talking about your work publicly or posting it or tweeting about it, anything like that. The more accessible the paper is, especially in the abstract, I would focus down on pretty heavily. The title and the abstract and the jargon that is either necessary or not needs to really be considered, or else I'm not a layperson, I guess, but for the person trying to interpret your paper, it can be a real stopping point where, you know, within the first two sentences, you are jargoned out of your jargon to death, you know. So I would urge you to keep the audience in mind. If it's just other academics, then, you know, go crazy. But I think everyone appreciates ease of reading and accessibility. So even though you're going to need to be very technical in your scientific paper, that doesn't mean you can't simplify things or be glib about some things or other things. Like Einstein said, make it as simple as possible, but not simpler. And that would be my advice to you if you want other people to engage with your work. Don't you know, try as best you can to communicate your science, but never be inaccurate. That's what I'm trying to do. We have a 5 from Barry from the ASDA. He says, hey Kyle, love the show. Is Kevin still employed? It's been weeks and he can't get a plaque organized. Well, that Kevin was fired. There's I have a lot of Kevins. We have another 5 from Sophorus. Jeez. What are your thoughts on Elon Musk's Neuralink project? I think he's on the right track. Well, I mean, no matter what you think of the guy, you have to give him credit that he thinks, and he thinks about and he can take action on a lot of big ideas. And I think this action with Neuralink, trying to get ahead of brain-machine interfacing, BMIs, is probably pretty smart, because that seems like a next big step in our technological evolution, when you can interface your brain with a computer and do incredible things. The example I usually give when trying to get people to imagine how incredible direct brain interfacing with a computer could be would be, imagine if there was an easy way to digitize memories. It could be, say, input from your eyes is just recorded on a hard drive. Now, imagine that you could put a hard drive in your head, link it to your brain in some way that made sense. This is where the technology part comes in. But now you have a hard drive in your head with sufficient capacity that you can relive every single moment in your life with perfect clarity. You have now perfect memory. And so much of who we are, who we consider ourselves to be, what we regret, who we love, where we're going, our career ideas, feelings about self-worth, sorrow, all these things, they really depend, if you think about it, on your memory and how well you can remember yourself or what you wanted to be or who you want to be. So now if you could perfectly recall everything with the help of a BMI, not body mass index, brain machine interface, I think that would radically change human personality and human life. I mean, think of like lying would be harder. Juries would be, justice systems would be upended when you had everyone has a perfect memory for everything. What did he look like? Exactly this. I think it would radically change society, and that is just the first simple application that I thought of off the top of my head. And that would be, it would be the biggest change to human life since the smartphone. And look what that's done to us. I'm not being glib there. It's changed us significantly. My neck hurts sometimes when you're laying in the bed and you have your hand too much and you get sore in here and then you let go of your phone and it hits you right in the face. Stupid phones. Let's stop the super chats for a second because we got to get to our very last topic. Kansas. I spilled it all. Oh, man. So, I do like it, though. So before we get back to your questions to round everything out, I do want to mention another thing about masks and mask wearing. So I think most of you are American for my demographics, slight majority. Why do you need to wear a mask? Well, first of all, it prevents egress, fluid from coming out of your face and directed at other people. So if you're infected, it helps people get infected less. But a lot of people will say, well, I don't know anyone with COVID, or, I don't see the actual benefit. And, the CDC says this or that or the other thing that I saw on Facebook. Well, here's a very easy to understand, good example of why masks are needed, especially when everyone's not aware of who's contagious, who's not. So the CDC published a report recently, last week, of 2 hairstylists, both of which had COVID-19, and they were asymptomatic. So they did not know that they had COVID-19. They spent at least 15 minutes each with 139 total people. Now, if you think about how exponential growth works for something like a pandemic, when, the R value is above 1, you're more likely to infect more than one person if you have something. 139 people being exposed to 2 people with it could rapidly create a tiny little hotspot in this community when things were opened back up. And that's bad. That's really bad. And the thing is, nobody knew this. But everyone involved, everyone getting a haircut and everyone giving a haircut, all had face coverings. How many people went on to develop the disease? 0. Now think about this. This is not just a number exercise. Right now, there are thousands and thousands of people walking around in America who have COVID-19 and they don't know it. And they're interacting with people or significant others or loved ones, whatever. Masks are so useful in reducing the spread of this, so effective, that you can have situations like this, which is almost like close to worst case scenario, aside from, if you're on a Florida beach and you're being stupid. This is pretty close to a worst case scenario, and because everyone was trying, they probably, the salons, they probably had hand washing protocols, social distancing protocols, those kind of things. Nobody became infected. That is the power of a mask. If we all, that's the infuriating thing. If everyone in the country, again, only speaking for America, but if everyone in the country wore a mask all the time when they should, we would cut the knees out from under this pandemic. Really, it actually reduces the number of people that this virus can go to. You put a dead end sign up at your you put a dead end sign on your biology, and you say, "Not this way, virus, you stupid thing that I don't even know if it's alive or not, depending on your definition of alive. It does replicate and evolve, but does it really live?" And anyway, you put a dead end sign. Wear a mask. Put a dead end sign on your biology. Not today, virus. Not today. So just a couple more comments. We're nearing the end of the live stream. Jakuga says, hey Kyle, do you watch anime? I do watch anime, but I haven't watched much since season 2 of One Punch Man. And I know it's not like anime, but it's still animated. I really enjoyed She-Ra and the Princesses of Power on Netflix. It was a great little show. Very wholesome. And interesting. And emotional. I liked it. It was great. Christopher McAwesome, gotta be your real name, says, "Oh my god, I actually made it to when it's live. By the way, we finally made a requirement for customers to wear masks at our grocery store, but won't allow us to enforce it because of people's feelings about it." That's the problem. Especially in America, when everyone feels very entitled to everything all the time, people get upset. And then you take a video of a Karen, and then she loses her job. Tough. Wear a mask. It's not that hard. It's not. Jokuga with another 11 says, well, Kyle, do you know the anime Akira from 1988? Yes, one of the best and most famous anime films of all time. Akira is all time. It's the animation is so smooth. There's so many frames that it's gorgeous. It gets a little convoluted and weird at the end for me, but just the animation alone, it's kind of Miyazaki-y in its fluidity, and I am aware of it, and I do love it. GoFundMe's with 5 says, if you were in a content creator tournament fighting game, what would your moveset be? Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter-y? I've been watching a lot of Injustice 2 competitive videos. I would be more Injustice 2-y, and I wouldn't be a range zone character like Starfire or something like that, throwing out a lot of Johnny Cage style fireballs, keeping opponents out of distance. I'd be more get in your facey, teleporting around kind of style, like Noob Saibot from Mortal Kombat. We have Nate in the North with a 10. Hey Kyle, I ran into the French phrase. I can't say this, but I know what I mean. It seems close to what you mean for your reason for being, a reason for existing. I should raison d'être? No, that's not how you. Don't make fun of me. I don't know. Do you have a favorite tribe in MTG? Mine's vampires or slivers. I have a dragon deck that's quite spicy, especially with the reprinting of Skithrix in Double Masters. It's going to get even Double Masters is going to get even a spicier. Music Central Piano 29 with a 15. Keep up the great work, Kyle. You can tell I'm getting a little flustered after an hour of speaking. Keep up the great work, Kyle. It is truly needed. Thank you for your support. It helps me get through the day. Jesse Fredrickson Tench says, hey, Kyle, I hope you're having a good week. How do you feel about the non-pandemic reasons for masks, like scrambling facial recognition? You know, let's end the super chats there and just finish out this episode. So I'm conflicted about mask wearing. Not that it's not necessary. I'm conflicted in that I don't not like it. I kind of enjoy it. I do enjoy anonymity. I like feeling kind of, stealthy, just because I'm a nerd. And I like not having to smile at people, or really, it cuts down my social interaction even more to where I want it. And, I feel a little bit more comfortable with my face not showing sometimes. So I don't feel as bad or as aghast at wearing a mask. And I know, my partner, for example, she loves not having to put makeup on most of her face every day when she goes into work or she goes out. I mean, it's a non-zero benefit there. So, but for facial recognition technology, this is one of these topics that I don't know enough about to be angry about or not. So I can't really say. If it really does help, well, then there might be a potential application there, but you can still, the lower part of the face is just part of the data set there. You still have eyes and eyebrows and hair and wrinkles on your forehead. I don't know how into the data set it gets with a human face, but I don't know if it would be a be all end all. I have seen good memes about, like, oh, just tell the people who don't want to wear a mask that you should wear one because the government is trying to track you with facial recognition technology and then, like, dart you with a chip to control your mind. And then they might put on a mask. Probably not, but you can try. So what did we talk about today? Well, we talked about, jeez. Now, he has some interesting morphology there. Not ugly. But we talked about Vantablack Fish and the evolutionary advantage to being as black can be in the blackest of blackest places. We also talked about corals and how many of them exhibit a bioluminescence with a beauty I've never seen before. Going back to that, and we talked about hot dog eating equations and how a human with maximal ACR, their active consumption rate is on par with that of a grizzly bear pulling muscle off of a moose's corpse. Too specific, I know. We also talked about a comment from the most recent episode of the facility, and we didn't get a plaque for that for MotoCat. Sorry, MotoCat. And finally, we talked about why wearing masks is easy and it makes sense. It prevents bad situations from happening. So, thank you all so much for watching. If you want to join the facility, it's not just these live streams, it's not just the videos. I do give all of my Patreons, which my security team will be putting in the chat. All of the patrons, they get access to videos a day early. They get behind-the-scenes footage, videos. They get to talk to me on Discord. I'll be playing Magic with some of them a little bit later on. They give me episode ideas. They show me their pets. It's a great time. I really do love having this little community with y'all. So if you want to join us and get your lab coat, theoretically, I'm working on it. You can go to patreon.com/Kyle Hill. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Stay safe, stay healthy out there. And like I said last week, because you don't know when you're not going to be able to do it, be nice to each other, because this is all we got.